Welcome to the Sex, God, and Chaos podcast, a conversation built to help you address the mess, connect the dots, and defeat addiction. Doing your work matters because if nothing changes, then nothing changes. Life is tough and we're here to help. I'm your host, Ben Derrick, and as always, I'll be joined by Roan Hunter. Let's jump right in. I can tell both of you, this is the way to pass an afternoon, man. Like, I'm sad about how things are going to go tomorrow during my workday.
It is fun. Yeah, we could just do this all day long because we're just having great conversations about the real stuff in life. Yep.
Yeah. One of the most satisfying parts about it too is that it just personally for me, it feels very redemptive in that, okay, maybe this is part of the reason why I was so thick-skulled about this and had to learn this the hard way so that eventually I could be articulate about it and maybe help someone else. I mean, it feels a little bit like a silver lining sort of thinking, but it doesn't feel that way with us as the three of us are talking. Like, it feels like the tough stuff has mattered in a new way, and that feels good.
Oh, yeah. I think it's like when the tough stuff becomes the good stuff, that's when life gets good. I have people ask me often, like, how do you sit and listen to people's problems all day? And I'm like, man, that is life-giving because we're talking about the bone and marrow of life. The thing that is life-sucking for me is having to go to some dinner party with people I hardly know, and I want to stick an ice pick right in my ear hole. That is life-sucking. But boy, just, being around people all day long, and I mean, really, any close friends that we have or people that are like in recovery and just on the path of growth.
I know,
right? It's a wonderful thing.
It makes me think about the other night, New Year's Eve, and we had dinner, went to a restaurant with some couples that we do life with that are in long-term recovery, just like us, and how much fun we had. The laughter, the conversations were so real, right?
Yeah.
There's no pretense. Yeah, it was really fun.
I'll tell you some of my favorite moments, and Eva, I'm sure you've had a lifetime of this, so it's probably not as fun for you at times. But when I look across the table and I say it out loud now, I can't believe Roan just said that out loud, right? And then the laughter occurs, and then you got to give as good as you get, and I think what we're describing is it's just a rich life that I would not trade for the world.
Oh, absolutely.
I would not.
Yeah.
This episode of Sex, God, and Chaos is brought to you by the Samson Society, a community of men who are tired of pretending and ready to start living in the light. For a lot of us, the hardest part of change isn't admitting we have a problem, it's believing we don't have to face it alone. That's what Samson Society is all about: brotherhood, honesty, and grace for men walking through struggles. There's no judgment, no posturing, and no perfect people allowed. Just men showing up, telling the truth, and finding freedom together. Whether you're a pastor, a husband, a businessman, or a guy who's just tired of being stuck, you'll find people who get it and who won't let you stay where you are. It's a place where every man has a place at the table. If you're ready to stop hiding and start healing, visit SamsonSociety.com. That's SamsonSociety.com, because isolation destroys men, but brotherhood brings them back to life.
Oh, yeah.
So here we are. So, and not to do a real quick Jesus juke here, but I think we were talking a little bit off mic. We got a little warm start for this conversation, but our origin story tells us that we walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Not that we set up an Airbnb there, right? Or decide to raise a family there. But it's interesting these days, and I know we've talked about this a little bit. I want to throw this around the three of us together, though. The prevalence of the word trauma in our culture today. I've been traumatized. I experienced trauma. This is getting a little out of hand, wouldn't you say, Ron?
Holy cow. I'll go on one of my famous rants. This is one of them because I do believe that in some ways we're doing a disservice to the word trauma, to the concept of trauma, because everything is trauma now. And, mama quit breastfeeding me too soon and I'm traumatized. That's not trauma, right? Getting shot at, getting run over by a car, your house burning down, parents divorcing when you're 8 years old. There's real trauma. And most of what people are dealing with, it often is what I would term just emotional distress. Now, emotional distress over time, unabated, will become trauma. There's no doubt. And I would just call that, and even for me, no parent was beating me or anything like that. But boy, there was a lot of neglect. And so, yeah, parents divorcing, that's trauma. But in the form of neglect, there was just a lot of emotional distress of just kind of feeling like you're on your own, and that's kind of my core wounding. My core message is just I'm on my own. I'm alone. Uh, and again, that is real trauma for me because it was unabated, just from 8 years old, or I mean even prior to that. I always say the divorce doesn't happen just on the date that it says on the paper. The divorce happened for years going way back, and so there's like just this core wound, core message for me that's just I'm on my own, I'm alone, because parents were way too preoccupied with their own emotional turmoil and emotional distress. And so, like, I do think it's important to distinguish, but we throw these terms around, like you've got trauma. And so now, you've got PTSD, and certainly betrayal trauma mirrors PTSD. There's no doubt. However, even with PTSD, it's not a lifetime sentence. Uh, no matter what level of trauma you've experienced, and I've sat with people that have experienced real trauma, uh, and I've seen those people work through it, and I've seen tremendous healing. Now that doesn't mean that it's now it's all gone. I have no memories of it, and the memories don't come up, and I don't think about it. That's not the way it works. But it doesn't take you out. You're not having nightmares, night sweats. You don't hear the car backfire and dive under the table, and you know those things we kind of know about, but it's also that also plays out in our arena of sexual brokenness, where there's been betrayal and then the partner. And so, what do you do with the real trauma of betrayal, and then not getting stuck there? And I'm so glad Eva's on this episode with us, because she's going to help partners get unstuck and move through it. I love what you started out with, Ben. I'm walking through the valley of the shadow of death. I'm not camping out there. I don't want to camp out there, because it's so easy to just get stuck and stay in victim mode with these labels that we give. We hand out like, gum in therapy world.
Do you find this to be true, Eva, as you hear Roan describe this, like it mirrors your life experience and your experience as a professional?
Yes, it does. It does. I do see women partners who really do get stuck in the trauma, their betrayal trauma. They get stuck there. It really begins to define them, just in the way they think. The fears really take over. A lot of anxiety. Mm. I think the ones who we all, and I think I've fell into that category too for a long time, just not really having the help that I needed. There's just so much more available today. Gratefully, there is. But I did get stuck there for a while, and really my fear is what really dominated me. And I lived in anxiety for so long. When we moved home to Mississippi, um, I call it home, sort of home. It's where we grew up anyway. We live in another area of Mississippi than where we grew up. But, it was so important to really understand how I got to where I had gotten to, and coming back home to Mississippi, it made perfect sense in a lot of ways, of how it all played out in my life and how I handled the things. If I could go back to that 28-year-old woman, today I'm 63, if I could go back to that 28-year-old woman, I would say to her, this is grief. What you are experiencing is grief. And I want to walk beside you and help you figure out what is it you need to do for you in order to regulate your anxiety because of what it's doing to your body, right? Your cortisol levels are out the roof. I didn't know any of that at the time. What it was doing to me. I knew I had I carry my anxiety in my gut. So, and that's genetic for me too. It's exactly what my parents did as well. So I had a lot of stomach issues. Um, and up under anxiety is fear. Gratefully, I did have a really strong community in Atlanta of women who loved the Lord, and so they surrounded me, but they didn't have my story. They did not know my story. They knew my story, but they had not lived my story. So I really couldn't be authentic with them either, not to the real stuff, the real deep things. Um, you know, Eventually I did get into a group in Atlanta of betrayed partners that was very life-giving to me. So I would say to that woman, my 28-year-old self, I would say, get in a group. You've got to be around people who have been where you are. Maybe they're a little bit further along, because you've got to find some hope for yourself, not necessarily for the relationship, but for yourself. And then what is it you need to do for you in order to live a life where you're not harming your own body with all of this stress and anxiety? And really lean into the Lord. I mean, have women that can also pray for you, pray with you, pray over you, walk beside you as well. So those are the three things I think I would tell my 28-year-old self. And then also in the relationship, who do you want to become? What kind of woman do you want to be? You've got to define that for yourself. For me personally, I like to use the 3 circles, just like we use with men who have acting out behaviors. I have my own acting out behaviors around my anger. So in mine, I've got it right here. Hold on, I'll grab it.
That's perfect.
Yes.
This was not pre-planned, but these are my 3 circles. These are my 3 circles. And so what mine say, my inner circle, the woman that I will not rage. I will not dance with Walter. Walter is no warnings, no arguing, no lecturing, no teaching, no explaining, no reminding. That's Walter. I will not parent, rescue, or enable my partner or my adult children. I will take a time out when I'm flooded with emotion. I will not shame with hurtful words. I will not blame or call my partner names, and I will not do any mind reading. So what will send me there? My yellow circle are my triggers. My triggers are stress, fear, lack of sleep, I'm tired, rejection, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, being overwhelmed. I've said yes to too many things. If I feel lonely, if I'm angry, if I'm bored. And what's interesting, my triggers are very similar to Ron's triggers. So my my self-care, which is the green circle, this is my self-care. Uh, I will have solitude. I used to not be able to have any solitude. I was so anxious. Needed connection constantly. I'll talk to at least one friend a day. I will travel. I'll do Fanos. I take supplements. I sleep at least 8 hours per night, 7 to 8 hours per night. I will use FTD, which is feelings, thinking, desire, to communicate. This is how I feel. This is the story in my head. This is my desire. I will play tennis. I will do Pilates. I will be in a group community for the rest of my life. I will have a daily contact with God. I will be in Bible study. I'll have annual doctor's visits. I will eat healthy. I notice beauty, walk in nature, and I will be sexual. I'll be a sexual human being, with healthy sexuality. So that's all my self-care. Now, if I could have known all that in the beginning, that would have been awesome. But you don't. You don't. Yes. It is a growing awareness of who we are as human beings. In another episode, when Ron talked about the 10 stops in our spiritual growth, I would have never. I can't imagine getting to the place that I am today and being able to say, yeah, I'm at step 10. I've gone through all of this. If it had not been for post-traumatic growth.
Yeah.
Right. I had to go through a very stressful, awful situation.
Yeah.
But where I reached to was growth. A lot of growth.
And I think, part of what people are longing for, or, let me rephrase that, because I almost went to that like teacher pastor thing. What I'm longing for when I'm in distress is, and this has been hijacked as well, but I'm longing to be seen. Right. I mean, I can remember as a little kid when I fell off my skateboard, I look and see what happened, and then I look and see who's looking, right? Like, is mom looking, right? I want to be seen because I'm looking for rescue. And even when you're talking about being in a group that knew your story, but they hadn't lived your story,
Right.
I have just recently gone through this. I'll be out in public, and people will be like, "Hi, damn man, you made it. Congratulations." And I'm like, whoa, like I kind of want to throat punch you right now.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't really honor the hell I've been through, right?
Right.
They don't mean anything by it. People don't mean anything by it, except for what they're really trying to say is, it's good to see you.
Yes.
But that part of me that wants to be seen interprets it as, and here's the interesting part, and I don't know if this is a masculine heart or just a human heart, but I go to that place where I'm like, oh, they don't see me. They don't know what I've been through. And in my younger years, I would want to stop and spend the next 35 minutes explaining to them everything that happened to me in the hospital, right? Like, no, you don't get it, man. You don't get it, man. But the masculine heart, I think, will trend towards that victim mentality. And I see this at our coaching weekends all the time. The men want to be very descriptive about the way that they were hurt. Like, I want to describe this and I know I've only got 20 minutes, but I'm going to take 37, right? And it's because we haven't been seen. So I think the gift that we give to each other, and the way you beautifully told your story, that part of your story, Eva, is that you got to a place where you were seen, and then once you were seen, then you could transition out of that place of post-traumatic stress and into that place of post-traumatic growth. But it took community. It took something external to get you there, right?
Exactly. Yes. And safe people because in those settings, they are safe people if they have good guidelines within the group, right?
Right.
And I'm talking
calling
about a
back to
recovery group.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Calling back to an episode, a couple of episodes ago, we're talking about 2% of the Christian, 2% of the Christian population is what you're saying you've got to find. I mean, that's like trying to
That's
find a
right.
needle in a
It's
haystack.
true.
You're
right?
so right.
Yep, it is.
It's so right. And I've tried to do small groups within our church, and they're wonderful, beautiful women, but they're just not ready to go they're not ready to take the mask off, or the majority are not.
Well,
they're just not ready.
And it's not just
and
our
I
church.
can't,
It's every church.
no, in any church.
Yeah.
No, and I don't mean it like that. I mean, it happened in Atlanta too when we were there. Yeah. Whereas before recovery, before all of this, that would have been so way enough. That would have met all the need, what I thought I needed. That met that need, right? But after recovery, and it is in scripture where it talks about, deep will meet deep, deep meets deep. And I don't have the time or the energy to be in a setting if people aren't going to be transparent.
Yeah.
I don't have the
And
time.
to be able to represent God for other people in those circumstances. I mean, one of the beautiful names for God is that he is the God who sees us. And that name emerged in the human experience because a woman was in a very desperate situation and she felt seen by God. That's where that name comes from. For the men that are listening, I think the thing that I have in my mind most often, and goodness knows, Roan quoted Forrest Gump a couple of episodes ago. We got to clean that up. So
I'm old. That's an old movie now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's Saving Private Ryan because little Ben is on the beach holding his rifle behind a little piece of metal and just shaking, right? But the Ben who's in post-traumatic growth is the guy in the scene that's saying, get off the beach, you've got to move, get off the beach. I have to use both sides of me. I cannot shame the little Ben who's hiding behind that piece of metal trying not to get killed. But at the same time, if I do stay in that stressful state, it's going to kill me. It is absolutely going to kill me. So we've got to move. We've got to get to a posture of growth. So many of us in our society today, though, and in our culture, whether we're going the route of worldly wisdom or we're just sitting in sermons, often today in our Western church, those are basically just the same thing. We can't try to do it on our own. We have to be able to reach out and put ourselves in those positions so that we can join in the currents of growth, watch what it looks like, listen what it sounds like, and then mirror that. What did you say? This has been episodes and episodes ago. Act your way into right thinking, something along those lines, right? Yeah. So, when you sit down in a community where like, oh my gosh, there's a person who is honoring their own actual trauma. They're talking about it with a sense of calm, and they're actually expressing and showing me, even in the way that we're sitting in this circle, that they're in a pattern of growth in their life right now. How did they get there? Right. So, our premise today is that we don't want to minimize trauma. We do want to call trauma, and things that aren't trauma, we're not going to call them that. But we will say that these disruptive experiences cause a window where growth is not only possible but probable unless we stay stuck, right, Ron? I mean, unless we go victim and we stay stuck in a diagnosis or stuck in a descriptor.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you, I just want to hear from you, Ron, about how do you see men helping men or people helping people get to that place?
Well, I think it's this idea of like, we don't want to get stuck, and you've got to begin to reframe kind of the story, reframe the reality, or actually maybe live in reality. And maybe what's happening at this point is I'm I'm not stuck, but I'm starting a journey. And this journey is really, again, goes back to the fact that, like, we try to separate recovery from Christianity, or like, I mean, all this stuff is intertwined. And so really what it is, I'm starting a journey. I'm starting a journey of true personal transformation. I'm starting a journey of growth and self-awareness. Even, I mean, all the forefathers in church history, I mean, Calvin, Luther, Augustine, we can go down the list. Every one of them, in some form or fashion, said the journey to God is an inward journey. And so what we're really entering into is this inward journey of recovering. And what I'm recovering is I'm recovering the life that God intended me to live from the beginning. And so now it's more of a thank you, Jesus, I'm on this path, because, broad is the way and wide is the gate that so many people are on. And this narrow way, this narrow gate. I mean, the passage when Jesus talks about when we get to heaven and he says, depart from me, I never knew you. Holy cow. Dude, that should just scare the bejesus out of all of us, right? Well, what's he talking?
At least 75% of us is just scared to death.
No doubt. But it's like, okay, man, what's Jesus talking about? I believe that Jesus is talking about that intimate depth of relationship that we have to begin to practice with other human beings if we're ever going to have it with an invisible God. And that's why he gives us others in our lives to begin to go there and begin to form those bonds, to form those connections, to have the intimate relationships that we were created and meant to have from the beginning. And so all of this, it's all the same. Whether you want to call it, transformation. I mean, we put the big sanctification. I mean, we put all the theology words on it, or we can put all the recovery words around it. But the bottom line is, man, I'm moving into an intimate and real relationship with my Creator. And I want to know that I am a beloved son. And that's what so much of this work is about. And and Ben, this, just even working with the military guys that you work with, when we talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, I mean, research has shown the guys that are most affected by that, and I mean, there's always exceptions for sure, but so many of those guys, what you find is that they've got a lot of childhood trauma that's unresolved, that's never been faced, it's never been dealt with. And then they get into these situations of real trauma, somebody shooting at you and watching your buddies get blown up. That's real trauma. Well, now what happens is how that kind of gets intertwined, layered onto the pre-existing trauma that was there, and that's why it becomes kind of complex PTSD. And even in Eva's journey, and she talks about this often, but what she grew up in, father being an alcoholic, all the stuff, the childhood stuff, well, that was all unresolved. And we talk about it, I think, in the book. I know we've talked about it on podcast. When we first go to counseling, it was like, I was the easy target. Cause I'm like, here it all is. And then, the counselor shines the light over there on Eva, like, what about your dad being an alcoholic? And I mean, it was her standard response. I'm fine. I've dealt with that. It doesn't affect me. We're here because of him. Fix him. But that's the common, we see that today. And so often it's that unresolved trauma that makes the healing process, the post-traumatic or post-traumatic growth process much harder, because we've got to go back and look at, that unresolved trauma all the way back to childhood. I mean, you got to go back to the beginning if you want to move forward in where you are today. And so often,
well, it's also, Ron, it's also unprocessed
yes,
trauma.
yeah,
Yes, unresolved, yes, but it takes a lot to process it.
That's right.
I think that's one of the reasons why EMDR is really good in the fact that it does allow your brain to get to a relaxed state to bring up some of those memories that have just kind of gotten frozen. Like you don't even remember what the sofa felt like when you were 4 years old and you're afraid for your life because your dad was screaming at your mom. You don't have not even been, that memory is somewhere so deep inside of you until you in a position with something like EMDR to bring that back up. So it's just really unprocessed too. It's unresolved, but it's
Yeah.
also unprocessed, and it's a journey to process all that.
Yeah.
And it may be
Man,
a lifelong process.
Yeah.
For some
have you
people.
guys been exposed to in Waves and War on Netflix?
Yes.
Oh, dude.
Yes.
I think I
Yes,
told you
so
about
good.
that. And I was just thinking about that too, because, what you see in that is those guys that are Navy SEALs and have been in it, when they go do the Ibogaine, trip, the thing that comes up is the childhood trauma. I mean, it's so fascinating, how it works.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful lines, and thank God he's opened my life in a way where I get to sit with these guys daily. It's crazy. That is just a crazy statement. But I was able to record a podcast with a Green Beret about that film. It was just fascinating.
Wow.
But one of the most powerful lines in that documentary is when a guy he's looking across the desk and he says, sometimes I wonder if we didn't abuse children, would we even have a military?
Oh yeah. Very true.
That kind of sums that up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does, because those abused children have so much anger that they don't realize. They don't realize. Yeah.
And speaking in absolutes, exactly. Speaking in absolutes, and this is kind of this is a little bit of a touchy subject that I don't want to like chase a rabbit for the next 3 hours, but these absolutes that we talk about, and this isn't male specific. I will never be in this position where that happens again. I will never allow that again. And this expression in the special forces community works itself out in, I'm going to be the meanest, baddest, most long-suffering man capable of all sorts of violence, because what does that do? That protects the little boy in the backyard who messed up the lawnmower. That's what that does.
Oh yeah.
But you end up you end up, that way of being trapped in post-traumatic stress ends up causing generational post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
But isn't it beautiful when you see someone who's been trapped there? And Eva, you talk about this very openly. It's beautiful to see that lift and the growth start to occur. I mean, it's one of the most amazing parts of the human experience. And I think about Jesus interacting with the woman at the well, where she's wanting to talk about how difficult it is to get water. And Jesus says, yeah, I know. There's a backstory there.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I really confused my 12 close friends and taking this route to get here just to have this conversation with you, because if you're not careful, you're going to live the rest of your life thinking about how hard it is to get water at this time of the day. And that's not the whole story, right? Let's talk about what's back there. And I really feel like he was very caring in that conversation. And then what does the woman do? Like, she goes to rescue the whole town. It's amazing, right?
Of course. Yes.
She does what the bozo disciples weren't even thinking about. So, just to encourage being aware of time here, just to encourage our listeners as we wrap this episode, post-traumatic growth is possible and beautiful, right? You both would say that.
The best of life.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So
what is that?
Worth it.
I guess my leading question is, what does that look like? What does post-traumatic growth look like? How do I know if I'm in it, or what do I know to be looking for?
Well, I think for me,
go ahead.
And I say this often, that I believe that a mature person, a whole person, is simply somebody that has the ability to emotionally regulate, and they are also relationally functional rather than dysfunctional, right? And I see that just in our relationship. Again, I don't ever want to promote somehow that we've got all together uh, we're perfect and all that by no stretch. At the same time, I mean, when we have conflict, it it might last 10 minutes. I mean, usually not even that long. And but that's because we have the tools.
Yeah, because neither one of us are going to let our cortisol get high.
That's right. Yes. But we've put the tools in place. We practice it. We live, eat, and breathe it, and we live it out. And so it's like all these things that we talk about. It's all a skill set. Now I do believe there's a God component, and certainly, especially when we're working with trauma, I mean, all of it. There's a Holy Spirit component in the healing process for sure. However, it's also there's a lot of skills that I've got to learn, and then I've got to begin to put them into practice.
Today, post-traumatic growth for me looks like being emotionally regulated, no matter the circumstance I'm in. Even if I'm in a triggered state, that I still have the ability to stay within my window of tolerance. I don't. It's freedom for me not to have that level of anger that I once had. It all came out and directed at Rome because of discovery. But it had been in my life. That anger had been in my life since childhood. I just didn't realize it. Right. So for me to acknowledge that today and live in reality, live in the truth, be transparent, be authentic, and know that God is always wooing me to Him. He's always for my growth. He's always, I love quotes. Another quote I saw recently is mountaintops are for views, but the valley is for transformation. And so I'm not afraid of the valley. I'm not afraid of it. In fact, not that I want to seek it onto myself because something.
No,
what I mean, but I also have I have right thinking in that, like you said earlier in another episode, I have the right thinking that all things do work together for good. Romans 8:28, for those who love the Lord. I know that today, but I didn't want to hear that at 28, but I know that today. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, at 28, if Jesus were to get me on a mountaintop at 28 and say, "Hey, we're going to the valley," I'd be like, "The hell you say?" You know how long it took me to get up here, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. And I think I probably still have that argument with him a few times. But I am willing to hear in post-traumatic growth, I'm willing to hear Jesus say to me, man, he says to me, man, there's something down there in that valley. If we don't go together, you'll never get it. You'll never get it. And it makes me emotional because I finally figured out what's more heartbreaking to God than our temporary pain or time in the valley is for us to miss out. I just think you can't stand for us to miss out. I mean, the inclusivity of God and the lengths that He has gone to be in relationship with us. I certainly wouldn't have gone to the lengths to be in relationship with me that He has. But if He says, Ben, I swear to goodness, the thing that's down there, we got to go down there and pick it up. And if you don't go down there, you can't ever pick it up. You know. And then maybe even a layer on top of that for post-traumatic growth. I'm not sending you down there, bro. I'm going with you.
With you.
Yeah.
I'm going with you.
And I'm going to provide others to go to.
Yes.
With you. With you.
That's right. That's exactly what the psalm says, come to think of it. You know, you are with me. I'm not afraid because you're with me, right?
Right.
And I think, you know, just to caringly express to our listeners today, man, we wouldn't wish the valley on anybody, right? Except for the fact that we've been there and we know that it is something to prepare a table with Jesus in the presence of your enemies. It steals a resolve in you that is going to allow you to recover, as Ron, as you say beautifully and often, the life that God intended. I mean, what
Amen.
What sort of father would I be if I hadn't been to the valley a few times? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What sort of friend would I be? What sort of pastor would I have been? What sort of podcast guy would I be? Right? And I think that's true for all of us. We cast that out there today as a message of hope, not of disregard or not of not seeing, but to be able to say, eventually, this will be a moment where there is intimacy with God that you will never know any other way.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth.
That's a wrap.
Totally agree with that.
To learn more about what you've heard today and to engage with the Sex, God, and Chaos team, visit sexgodchaos.com.